Not all heroes wear capes. In fact, some wear a trench coat and a pair of heels. For the New Paltz community, that hero was Ludwig Montessa.
The thing that Ludwig is the most is love.
The Montessa family, originally from the Philippines, moved to New Paltz when Ludwig was 14 years old. Ludwig enrolled in classes at SUNY New Paltz and helped manage his parents' store, Kontiki, on Main Street.
Ludwig, for a lot of people, is family, son of this town, you know? Just everyone's brother, everyone's sibling, friend, you know?
A philosophy that represents Ludwig is that there is joy in this moment. We don't always recognize the joy if we're going through the day, but he always saw it and he always shone that light on you.
Basically the personification of New Paltz, because he was unique and he made people happy. He's just like one of those souls that just like was always happy all the time.
You know, he was a pure thing of love, you know. I used to have a thing with him too. It was really funny because I used to work with children with behavior disorders, and they would always want to hug me, and they would always have a thing of like hugging too long, and that's how Ludwig, when he got a hold of you, it's like it would last forever. So I had to teach him Ludwig is 1, 2, 3, because then if you didn't, he would just hold on to you. It would just be like, he just liked everybody. He just loved, he was just, New Paltz was his playground.
He'd be like, it's Amanda, run! He had a t-shirt with Sylvester the cartoon cat on it. And he would always belch and be like, it wasn't me, it was Sylvester.
Sylvester have anything to say?
Ludwig was a pillar of light. Everyone knew him because he went out of his way to be everyone's best friend. He quickly became the face of New Paltz, with love and laughter.
You would always hear Ludwig coming. Usually if I was serving coffee, I wouldn't even have to like turn around and I knew that Ludwig had arrived.
Oh, he'd just walk right up to them. Maybe he'd share a joke or an incredibly long high five, or perhaps swipe at them like he was a cat. You have to paint him in a way that suggests that his spine isn't entirely solid.
I remember Ludwig used to write me all these notes all the time, and they'd always be like silly knock-knock jokes or like these stories about Tom and Jerry. And then he'd like throw in someone else from town, and it's like how I've met a bunch of people is like through these notes.
But he would always do these, roses are red, violets are blue. They were usually always like jokes, they were like funny, although sometimes they would also be like very, very touching.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ludwig Montessa, and I am the king of open mic. Rah!
He had this like ambiguous age to him. I couldn't figure out if he was 16 or, you know, touching 30. And he was wearing all black. This long black trench coat, this like 3-piece suit. And he gets up on stage with this Casio keyboard. And all of a sudden my Heart Goes On by Celine Dion starts to play.
Open the door, and you're here in my heart. And
Seemed like the most avant-garde, weird, artistic experience that I couldn't tell if he was being serious or joking. And he finished, and I realized he was being serious, and it was like really beautiful to see someone put their all into something and not really care what anybody else thought, just like went up there, you know, for the love of doing it.
I mean, I hosted the Oasis open mic for a while, and you know, it was always just funny, him just like coming, he had his thing to set up, his little CD player, and have with his song, you know, and then he would do his Frank Sinatra or Gloria, but he, I don't know if people like documented like the certain things, just the certain mannerisms of him. Just like, Pete got a secret. Oh, that's right, the Metro card too. Could have sex in the subway, you know, in the city. I was in the city, Pete.
Tom and Jerry going down to Flushing, Queens to have sex on the 7 train.
but most of all, I'm a Latino dancer and a party animal.
And I think it was just about that silliness, which I loved it. It would always make me laugh, you know, and that was always such a hoot, you know, hanging out with him. You know, we're all just like I said, I think we're all just a bunch of weirdo misfits around here, and just, you know, he's just kept the love going, and that's, we all had a mutual love for him. You know, it's definitely sad to see him go so abruptly. It was crazy.
Tragedy struck on April 7th, 2013. New Paltz lost their ambassador, breaking the hearts of the whole community. Friends and strangers alike celebrated his life through online fan pages, murals, and a week-long festival.
I know exactly where I was and exactly who told me, and I knew every detail of the day that I found out that Ludwig died. I was walking home from work, and my friend Mel called me. And she was like, Amanda, like, have you heard? And I was like, heard what? She's like, I think Ludwig died. And I was just like, no. Like, he is an immortal being. Like, absolutely not, no way. I couldn't believe it, I couldn't accept it. So I called my friend Allie, who he worked with at Kontiki, who was, you know, close with all of his family, to verify.
I was working the day that Ludwig passed away, and I remember coming here, and usually he was here before I ever got here, waiting on the stoop, and I opened up work that day, and I remember walking by, I remember seeing an ambulance that day, and really not thinking about it, and then coming into work, and like Ludwig wasn't here, and like I knew something was wrong. Ludwig had passed away. He had epilepsy and had a seizure in his sleep, and didn't make it, and I don't know, it just seemed like so surreal. Like Ludwig was like someone that you just assume would be here longer than you ever would, you know?
Ah, damn it. So yeah, that was when I found out. And then we all went to Snugs and got drunk, really drunk.
Yeah, I think I was just home, and I think it was just a Facebook post, and it was just like, what? You know, I just, like I said, just still does not feel real. Like, I can't believe he's gone.
Ludwig would want to be remembered. I think he would want to be celebrated, and I think he'd want us to all be happy and have a big ass party, which is what we do every year in his honor, because he just wanted everybody to have fun all the time and be happy. So I think Ludwig Day is a big ass party that we give him every year, and I think that would be, I think that's the best way.
I actually helped organize like the first Ludwig Day. It was like after his passing, I remember going into the cafeteria, another spot that like Ludwig was at all the time, just going there, getting something to drink, usually a soda, talking to my friend about his passing and just how wild and crazy it was, and we started talking about like all these moments we had with Ludwig and all these, you know, these memories and these encounters and all the things that we loved and we're gonna miss, and you know, how many people in this town he affected, and just sort of from that started talking about how like we should have a day just in his honor to celebrate him, and that's slowly like turned into us putting together the first Ludwig Day, and it was like this beautiful community effort of just like everybody that was his friend wanted to do something.
Ludwig Day is just an astounding thing because there's everything from a vendor fair to various musical acts. People tell stories and do their very darndest to capture the memory of what about his spirit moved people. And the fact that it's happening every year shows me how strong a spirit that is. In some ways, I've come to know him better since he died. A couple of years ago on Ludwig Day, I led a ritual in which we made offerings of Metro cards and Diet Coke to Ludwig and flowers. We kind of tried to wake him up by stomping on the ground and just kind of acknowledging him as someone who has moved a huge number of people. I mean, I don't know many people in this town, other than maybe Sojourner Truth, who has gotten as celebrated as Ludwig Montessa. I mean, he has his own holiday. That just doesn't happen.
We've incorporated a few little traditions, like we do a New York sing-along and kick line in Ludwig's honor. And you know, every year it's like, I feel like that's the moment I personally feel like just closest to Ludwig and that he's still kind of with us is during that kick line, because it's like, you know, you're belting out the song, we're doing like kick lines and just like not giving a gosh darn about what we look like or what we sound like, and just kind of just like channeling that energy that he would have when he would like belt out these emotional torch songs. And it's like you just kind of channel Ludwig there for a few minutes, and that's become one of my favorite traditions.
Ludwig gave everybody 5 minutes. He treated everybody like they deserved at least 5 minutes of his time, and you know, he always had time for you. Maybe you didn't have 5 minutes for him, but he always had 5 minutes for anybody and everybody. One of the most beautiful things that I learned from him is that like everyone has a story, and everyone's story is like just as meaningful and just as potent, you know, as yours.
While he was alive, he brought people together with love and acceptance, and the ideology continues to flourish.
So keep an eye out for me in New York.